right, ladies and gentlemen, friendly reminder, tomorrow you have a test, 25 questions, all multiple choice. Your vocab and focus and primaries and breakdown, all of that is due tomorrow. Please make sure you have them submitted either on Canvas, like your primaries, your breakdown, and your SCOTUS, as well as having your focus and vocab ready to turn in tomorrow. Please make sure you're ready. All right, on your whiteboard, here we go, on your whiteboard, how many seats does the Senate have? How many seats? Toby? 100. How many does the House have? Good. Amelia? 435. On your whiteboard, please tell me. What is it? What's the fancy term for two houses? Good. Ava? Bicameral. On your whiteboard, please tell me. What is... According to the Constitution, senators were elected by what body? According to the Constitution. It's a whiteboard question. What? Okay, throw it away and get a new one. What is it, Roth? State legislatures. It changes with what amendment? By the way, this is on your breakdown. Fun fact. What amendment is going to change it? Oh, God. We have 14th, 17th, and 22nd. So we're like literally all over the place. The answer is the 14th. It is the 14th Amendment that will change it to what type of election for state senators? What type of elections? Okay. At large is also known as what type of election? Popular vote, ladies and gentlemen, popular vote. All right, here we go. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of, what is the name of the tool that the Constitution creates in order to create the House of Representatives? Good, I got 1, 2, 3. Good, what is the name of the tool, Andrew? Census. If you don't know the answers, you better be looking through your notes because tomorrow you have to know this information, so you might as well be looking at it now. Census. How often does the census occur? Maggie? 10 years. Every 10 years, the census occurs. On your whiteboard. What is it called when, what is it called, the districts, when districts are divided into aspects for voting for a House of Representatives? Good. What is it called when a state is divided up into districts? It's called what, Natalie? Apportionment. After the census comes out and they have to shift districts based on the census, it's called what? Good. William?
Reapportionment.
Reapportionment. Do you like William or Will?
I don't care.
Oh, okay, because you use both.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right, that confuses me. I'm a simple girl here. All right. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is it called when you change districts for your own party's benefit? Good. What do we got, Joseph? Gerrymandering. By the way, fun fact, yesterday, the Supreme Court of the United States declared Alabama incapable of reapportioning their state without extreme bias against blacks. So, the state legislature of Alabama is officially removed from reapportioning their state, and a private company will now draw the lines in the state of Alabama. That came out yesterday because the gerrymandering was so obscene and malicious in the state of Alabama. That was yesterday. Now, there are 4 other cases in front of the Supreme Court in the next 2 months about gerrymandering and reapportionment and abuses of power by state legislatures. One of them happens to be in Florida. Yeah.
What district?
I don't know. You can look it up. they were talking about. It should be issued in the next 2 months. They're trying to get them all out the door within the next 2 months out of the Supreme Court, because I don't know if you know, but there's an election happening in 2024. So they want all of these things all argued out in the court so that people's vote is one vote, one person, can all be held throughout the whole United States, so the vote is a true and accurate vote. Now, right now, all 4 of those Supreme Court cases, including the Alabama one that happened yesterday, okay, all of those are against Democrats, against Republicans. Now, does that mean the Republicans are the only people in the world who have ever gerrymandered? No. New York City, actually, in 2004, got removed. The state legislature of New York got removed from creating the district map of New York because of the abuses of power of the Democrats. So they had to have a private company come in and redraw all of their districts in order to avoid gerrymandering of the Democrats. So it's both parties. It's not just Republicans. But right now, who is doing it the most? Republicans. It will swing back to the Democrats, I'm sure. But right now, it's the Republicans who are getting their hand caught. All right, here we go. On your whiteboard, please tell me. What is the name? What is the name when you have both House of Representatives and Senate on the same committee? What do we call it? Toby. Say the answer out loud. A joint committee, yes. On your whiteboard, please tell me. What is the name of the most powerful person in Congress? Who is it, Maggie? Speaker of the House. They're number 3. So if Kamala and Joe Biden died today, okay, then Kevin McCarthy is the President of the United States. He goes straight to the Speaker of the House. That's how powerful they are. Okay? Now, because no bill can pass Congress unless it goes to the House, right? And who gets to decide what bills go to the floor? Speaker of the House. That's why he's the most powerful person. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of the committee that looks at both bills that pass the House and bills that pass the Senate, and they make those agreements so it can pass? What is it, Hayden? Conference committee. On your whiteboard, what is the nickname of the House of Representatives? What's the nickname? Now. What is it, Andrew? The People's House, or the House of the People? People's House. What is the nickname of the legislative branch? What's the nickname of the legislative branch? What do we got, Joseph? Congress. You see the difference between the two? On your whiteboard, please tell me, how long does a senator get to serve? Good. Amelia?
6 years.
6 years. How long does a representative get to serve? Mackenzie?
2 years.
2 years. All right, here we go. Take out your notes. Let's go. All right. Yesterday we ended up talking about how senators don't like giving up power. Okay? Senators are refusing to give up power. We are seeing this in both the Republican and the Democratic Party. We saw this with Feinstein in California, which is happening right now. She is on the judiciary, which we'll talk about today because it's one of the big committees. And that's holding up how government functions. And then we have Mitch McConnell, who is having neurological problems and apparently keeps having strokes and falling in his office. Why are their offices keeping them in power? Why, Amelia?
Just people associated with them get all the
Absolutely. If you're Mitch McConnell's staff's head of staff, then you have huge power inside of the Senate. So they're propping up their people in order to keep them going. It's also a political game. If Feinstein, who's a Democrat, has to retire and she's forced to retire, her spot goes to a Republican, not a Democrat. So that changes the balances of the committees as well. So there's a lot of things playing in part, but a lot of it all comes down to what? Power. Power of the individual and power of the party. So if you could be in any position in the government, senator is pretty great. Okay? Senator's pretty great. President, I mean, obviously that's like the big spot, but that's like really stressful. I mean, you've all seen how presidents have aged over their 4 or 8 years. I mean, that shit is stressful. Senators have a pretty great little cushion there. All right. So we talked about the power of the Senate. We know that that's the best, cushiest job, and they make millions off of it. We'll talk about that another day. Here we go. Your next subheading is powers of the legislative branch.
We never did the pros of this.
Oh, the pros of the Senate is they're incredibly powerful. That's all I really need to know. The cons are what you really. The pros, they only have to run every 4 years, really. It takes 2 years to run an election, so they have 4 years where they can take off. So that's nice. Okay. Your next subheading is powers of the legislative branch. I don't need you to memorize everything. I just need you to know a couple of the big ones. You need to know that they are the only ones who can tax. Who specifically has to create the tax bills? Does anyone know? We're going to talk about it today. The House. The House is the only one that can initiate a tax bill. The Senate has to sign off on it. Why does the House get to create it? It's the people's house. It's the people's representatives in Congress, and that's why they get to. You need to know that it is Congress who gets to regulate commerce or trade. That is going to be incredibly important as we move through more Supreme Court cases. You're going to see a lot of it's dealing with commerce. You also need to know that they obviously make laws. That's what the legislative branch does. They make laws that are necessary and proper. They make laws that are necessary and proper. So those are the powers. All right. A couple big things you do need to know. You need to know the term entitlement. That's how you spell entitlement. Okay? You need to know the term entitlement. Does anyone know what entitlement means? What you got? Hit it.
Is it like when you think like you like deserve something?
That's when you're entitled.
Oh, my bad.
But it kind of refers to it. Okay. Entitlement, write it down. The government creates programs that are strictly for their citizens' benefit. Okay, so is the government making money off this? No, they're not making money. They're losing money on it, but they do it because it's the right thing. Now keep in mind, we'll talk about what that actually means. Okay, what would be an example of an entitlement? A government program that is there for the benefit of the people and costs the government billions of dollars a year. What do you got?
The VA.
The vet. Okay, that's a little bit different. It's a little bit different because that's protected by the Constitution. Because veterans' rights and all that stuff, and veterans' components, healthcare is part of it actually. What do you got, Roth?
With healthcare?
Yes! Okay, so write these down. Examples: Medicare, Medicaid, welfare, food banks, food vouchers. These are all government programs that are there for the benefit of the people. Now, during 2020, every single person in this room knew someone who was on welfare. Because 47% of the United States was receiving welfare. Welfare is what? What is it? Yeah, you get money sent to you from the government every single week, usually. Okay? And it's a certain amount, and then you can spend it on really whatever you want. Okay? Now, before 2020, which is wild because of the pandemic, everything shut down, you can still qualify today for welfare if you had a job and then you lose it. Now, the reason why welfare exists in the first place is because the United States government did a lot of research, and they did. They realized that if you had a job in a family and then you lost your job and you could no longer pay for your car, your house, your food bills and all that stuff, and your family like crashed and burned, it would cost the government an obscene amount of money to help you lift yourself from the ashes of complete financial ruin. So what they figured out is that if they gave out small checks and help float people in between jobs, it saves the government a lot more money. So what did they create? Welfare system. It actually does save the government a lot of money than letting people completely fall to abysmal, but it's not great money, people. Okay? During 2020, the the Florida government was sending out families of 4 $175 a week. That is supposed to cover food, rent, okay, any medical bills. It's supposed to cover whatever they need it to cover. How much is 175 going to get you? Nothing. Okay? You can't even get groceries at Publix right now, like at all. Okay? With that being said, please listen. The state of Georgia was giving out 127. Alabama was giving out 111. Who can raise their hand and tell me why each of these prices are different? Think about it logically. It's coming back to something. Rohan.
It's like the state's power to determine like welfare programs.
There you go. Put a big star underneath your entitlement. States control their own entitlement programs. So the reason why all of those weekly checks varied is because they're from different states. There's no federal welfare system. Welfare is a power of the state. The state gets to choose. So in New York, they were giving out like $285 a week. But what's the difference in New York? Everything is crazy more expensive, and they have to pay for air, heating during the winter and all those different types of things. So there's lots of variance on cost. Okay? You need to know that welfare systems are created by the states, and that's why they vary so significantly. You also need to know that the federal government, and you need to write this down, the federal government influences entitlement programs by giving them funding. So the federal government influence entitlement programs by giving it funding. So they'll waive like, hey, I'll give you $100 million if you do this. And what do most states say? Yes, because it'll pay for most of the entitlements they have to pay for. Okay, we've all figured out that there are some states here in the United States that are better to live in and worse to live in, depending on who you are, what's your background, and what your economic needs are. Yes? We all know that Alabama is the poorest state in the union. Yes? Yes, poorest state. Alabama, Missouri are the two poorest states in the union. Georgia is in bottom 5. Okay? So your southern states, 'cause there's not a ton of industry in the southern states, that's why they're at the bottom. Okay? So because of the wealth of a state dictates the entitlements and all these other components too. So keep that in mind. Okay, so you need to know what entitlement programs are. We're going to be using this language of entitlement programs for the rest of APGov and all of APCom. Okay, so entitlement programs are programs created by the government, controlled by the government in some degree, and implemented for the benefit of people. You do need to know that funding is manipulated by federal governments in order to get action. Okay. Okay, you need to know that the 2 most powerful committees, write it down, prestigious committees, there are 2 of them. So, if you are in the Senate, you want to be one of these 2 positions on these committees. Here you go. The first one is the congressional oversight. These are the 2 committees that you really want to be on. Okay? Congressional oversight. You need to know they can investigate any government employee. They can investigate any government employee by looking at tax records, government records, and public hearings. Now, this is one of the most prestigious ones, and they get to know all the inside dirt on all of their neighbors, and they can use it to manipulate and work, and it is the number 1. Guess who's on it? Guess who's the number 2 dude? Mitch McConnell! He doesn't want to lose his spot. Well, the Republicans don't want him to lose his spot because it would go to a Democrat if he steps down. And that's part of the reason why he won't give it up. Now, Congressional Oversight Committee are the ones investigating Hunter Biden. Okay? They're the ones asking all these questions and doing all these things and raising all these concerns. Okay? That's all being done by Congressional Oversight because they have the authority to use any government record any way they want. Which is that pretty damn powerful? They have access to anything. Including, who is the most powerful government employee? The president. And they have full access to all the president's records. Yeah, so they can keep an eye on everything. Isn't that wild? That's a lot of power. Yeah, it is. Second most powerful is the Judiciary Committee. Second most powerful is the Judiciary Committee. So, are they putting new people on these? If you just got into the Senate this year, okay, or next year when you in 2024, are you going to be appointed to these? Hell no. Hell no. These are like the creme de la creme. The Judiciary Committee appoint and vet, V-E-T-T, vet all federal judges and Supreme Court justices. Okay. These people get to decide how courts lean. Now, in 2023, do we know that the direction the Supreme Court leans has a huge impact? Absolutely. Okay, whether you like the lean of the current Supreme Court or you hate the lean, it has become more evident that if you can manipulate seats on that bench, whew, you sure got a lot of power. And that's with the judiciary. Guess who's one of the highest ranking members? Feinstein in California, who can't get out of bed. Yeah, that's why they won't give up their power. Because if she steps down, a Republican's going to replace her and the balance of the Judiciary Committee. But is anything happening in the Judiciary Committee at the moment? No, because they can't get a passing vote. Because she's not there. Democracy. It's so beautifully flawed. Here we go. All right. I do want to make sure that we are explicitly clear. Okay, here is your congressional chart. You're going to see it tomorrow. It's like question 2 on your test tomorrow. You don't need to write it down, but if you want to write it down or take a picture of it, you're more than welcome to. You're going to get the same exact chart on your test tomorrow. So, but it's something that AP really likes. So let's talk about the differences of it. When we talk about Congress, we obviously know it's bicameral. There's an upper house, there's a lower house. The lower house is going to be the House of Representatives, and the key speaker, the most important person is the Speaker of the House, who is Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy is the most powerful person in Congress, even though he's in the lower house, because he gets to put whatever he wants on the floor. If he hates a bill, he doesn't have to put it on the floor. He controls what legislation goes through. That's a huge amount of power. He's also third in line for the president. Okay, so he is here. He gets to decide what laws go on the floor and get debated and actually voted on. He has a majority leader who does like all of his bidding and all like the drafting of the bills and stuff like that. Very influential. When you see the word whip, there are people who are counting votes. They're the ones who are keeping track of all the members of the party and figuring out are they voting this way, are they voting that way, and they're keeping record and keeping track of exactly where the vote is at every minute. Even though they're not voting for 6 months, they have a rough count of who's going to vote which way so they can track it. If you've ever seen House of Cards, season 1 of House of Cards, he was the majority whip, and he's just like going around counting votes. And then you have committee chairs, okay, because committees are the most important thing, and the Speaker of the House picks your committee chairs. Okay. Then you have minority, okay, and minority whips counting votes, but they really don't get to do much, especially when they're in the minority. All right, then you have your Senate. Underneath your Senate, you have the Vice President. No one wants to be Vice President because you get to be in Congress. Like, it's like the stupidest job. It is technically there. You only get to vote if there's a tie, and it happens like one every like 6 years. So you could be a Vice President and never vote in Congress. You have other powers and other responsibilities, which is why you want to be Vice President. voting in Congress is not one of them. Okay, President pro tempore, they are ceremonial. They don't really do anything except hit a gavel and tell people to stop debating and yelling at each other. That's pretty much all they do. They actually have no authority. The person with all the authority in the Senate is the majority leader. Okay, right now it's Chuck Schumer in the Senate. He gets to decide what is actually going to be argued on the floor of the Senate. If a bill passes the House under Kevin McCarthy, Schumer can decide not to vote on it, which means it doesn't get through. And that's what these two men have been doing. It's just pissing each other off. Nothing has gotten done at all. They passed one bill in 2.5 years. Okay? So that's what the majority leader can do. Majority whip, they're just the ones counting, and then committee chairs. The most important thing that the Senate majority leader does is the committee chairs of the judicial and the oversight. So they get to make those big decisions and those very prestigious things. Questions about how it's organized? Perfect. All right. Cool. I think we're just about done. Okay, all of your different types of committees. You do need to know the types of committees. A standing committee means it's permanent. Yes, we talked about it on your breakdown. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. A standing committee is a permanent one, like a veterans committee, an agriculture committee, an energy committee. Those are permanent. Every administration has them. Then you need to know a conference committee. Your conference committee is the one that is taking bills from the House and bills from the Senate and marrying them together to get a passable bill that'll actually be voted on for approval. So the conference bill is taking the House bill and the Senate bill on the same. They have slight variations and trying to marry them together so both the House and the Senate will vote on something. Okay, that's their responsibility, and you will see that tomorrow. Put a big star. You need to know that every committee is based on seniority. And what is seniority, Toby?
Like, how long you been
Do you get the longer you've been there? Do you get better treatment or worse treatment?
better?
Better treatment. So here in high school, who has the seniority? Seniors. All right. Okay, that's why they get to cut the lunch line, right? Do they still have that?
I've never bought any lunch.
Well, that's more of a personal thing than everyone else. That's why they get to cut the lunch line. Natalie, we're not rehashing your experiences here. That's why they get the first to buy parking passes. They're the first ones to buy anything, all that opportunity. It's seniority. Okay, same thing's happening in Congress. The longer you've been there, the preferential treatment you have. So you're on the two big committees, which is why newbies are nowhere near and definitely not anywhere near ranking members. Okay? Nice. My husband is texting me. Daniel Tiger Live is coming to Tampa, so we're buying tickets. So if you want to know what your mid-30s look like, ladies and gentlemen,
Wait, what is that?
this is it. It's a kids show that our son watches. He watches one episode a day, and he loves it.
Like Disney on Ice, and you guys see Disney on Ice? Or like somebody that.
Yeah, it's like people in costumes dancing around on stage.
Disney on Ice.
Can we do that?
No.
Please.
Divided government! How much longer do I have?
Like, honest to God, like a minute.
I want to do whiteboards.
Divided
Oh my
government. It is on your test tomorrow. Divided government is when the executive branch and the legislative branch are controlled by two separate parties. Divided government is when the legislative branch and the executive branch are controlled by two separate parties and nothing happens. We have a fractured government because the legislative branch is controlled by two parties and the executive branch is controlled by one. So how much has Biden been able to pass? Literally one thing. Because the House is controlled by the Republicans and nothing can get through the House unless the Republicans put it on the floor. And is Kevin McCarthy going to do that? Hell no. He's only passed one bill. Okay? Now, Donald Trump had a divided government. You should maybe make a note of that. He did. The Republicans controlled the executive branch, but the Democrats controlled your Congress. Okay? So how much did Donald Trump get through? I think he got one thing through. Okay? Who was the last president that had a unified government? Obama. Obama had a unified government. The Democrats controlled the executive branch and the legislative branch, which is how they got health care passed. Yes? Think about it. That is a huge piece of legislation. It's a landmark legislation. And that was only accomplished because the Democrats controlled the legislature and the executive branch. So, when you have a divided government, are presidents productive? No. They end up using lots of executive actions. Okay? Because they can't get through the House, so they're going to do that instead. All right, to the boards. Let's go. On your whiteboard! What do we call programs like food banks, food vouchers, welfare checks? All of those fall under what title? What do we got, Lucy? Entitlements. Who control entitlements? Who is it, Miss Phillips? States control it. How does the federal government influence entitlement programs? Good. What the hell does that say, Bryson? Grants. Okay. Funding. Funding is the easiest answer, but yes, technically. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of a politician who does exactly what their constituents say and does not do any thinking for themselves? Good. What is it? Roth. A delegate. On your whiteboard. What is the name of the conference that is permanent? It never changes. It's always in every administration. Good. What is it, Andrew? Standing. On your whiteboard. What is the name of the conference that tries to marry the bills that pass the House and the bills that pass the Senate? What do we call that? You can't just say committee. They're all committees.
They're both C. Just, this is my head.
Oh gosh, Amelia. Marin, help me out. Conference committee. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of, temporary committees that only exist for just a investigation of specific amount? What do we got, Ava? Select committees. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of the most powerful person in Congress? You guys did not know this one earlier. You better know now. Top-notch effort, Maggie. What is it? Speaker of the House, people. Speaker of the House. On your whiteboard, please tell me. Who gets to decide what bills go on the floor and get actually voted through? What? There we go. Ebba. Speaker of the House. At some point, you people have to figure out Speaker of the House. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of the committee what are the two most prestigious committees inside Congress? If you don't know, look at your notes. Sitting there doing nothing ain't helping you. You need two of them. Good. I mean, not yours, Hayden. What are they, Rohan? Congressional and oversight. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of a politician who does whatever the hell they think is best? And they don't really need their people to tell them because they know what is right. Good. Lily. A trustee. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of the Supreme Court case that is about political questioning? What is it, Ryson? Baker versus Carr. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is Reno versus Shaw is about the unnatural shape of what? If I can hear you up here, you're not whispering. It's the unnatural shape of what? Well, districts. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is what position am I describing? They are constantly running for re-election. They are constantly fundraising, which makes them easy to compromise. Who are they? Ava? Member of the House. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what happens if what is the name of a committee if both a House and a senator are on it? Good. What is a Joseph Joint Committee? How much longer?
Oh, hell yeah.
Alright, I'm done. I'm tired. Alright, you are in a good spot for tomorrow. Hopefully you feel that way. I've obviously looked at the test. You should be fine. Yeah. Sounds good to me.